Jorri, can you hear me? How are you, mate?
I can hear you. I'm good, man. How are you?
Well, depressed, but not too bad.
Could be better, Jorri.
How did you feel about
well,
that? What are your feelings post-game, Jorri?
I feel like you guys, and to be honest, I feel a little bit worse. To be honest, because I'm starting to get a little bit worried about Ants. I felt he got it really wrong today. Again, I feel like he's kind of, he's a bit blind on our issues. You've touched on many of them. I mean, for me, one of the huge problems is, of course, the lack of defensive structure. We should have lost by more. Really, we got away with such a low score. So, and for me, I feel like first of all, I'm not Ants out or anything like that. I think Ants is amazing for the club. I think he's amazing in general. But I am seeing, like, now you're in the Premier League, and you cannot go at this league with a one formula approach. That didn't even work for Pep or Klopp. So that's not going to work for Ants either. And my worry there is that if we take, like, not that we're like City, but that's probably the closest comparison, I think, especially with Ants. Ants is neither going to get the time nor the money to get this stuff right, in my opinion. That's what's worrying me. Also, I'm not sure that he's not showing me that he has any answers for what we're facing right now, and you see the players also being more lost and relinquishing their responsibility, which Ants is so keen to give them. So I don't feel like, especially going forward, that they're taking the responsibility that they need to.
What would you like? Sorry to interrupt, mate, but what would you like to have seen Ange kind of change up today when it was clear that we were facing something that we were struggling to deal with?
So today, unlike the last two games, we actually got the midfield. So I felt Bissouma was definitely a good addition today, and we had the space to play in the midfield. But what we were facing today is like what we always struggle with, no matter what manager we have, which is these heavy low blocks. But unlike the previous managers, we're not this vulnerable. We weren't this vulnerable to counter-attacking as we are now. But today I felt like, just to start off with, I thought it was a big mistake not to start Sonny in the center, because for me it was like, it's obvious we're not going to get a lot of chances. They need to be clinical. Richarlison, even though he's been on a good run now, he's not a clinical player, not at all. Also, our wingers, and Kule especially, I mean, he scored a goal, so he made up for it a little bit, but Kule is hanging on to the ball way too long. So, and this is what kind of annoys me with young teams in general, is like the decision making is so bad sometimes, and the ability is all there, but you see them make the wrong decision all the time. And I think, Ange got in Kulu's ear and said, Kulu, you're hanging on to the ball for too long, you need to come to a resolution before. And from that, we saw a little bit better performance. Also, he got better because he got played more centrally, especially after Brennan came in. So, for me, I think you should have started Sonny in the center. You could have played Richarlison on the wing.
On the left, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And also you could also have probably gotten little bit more creativity with having some structure that enabled Kulu and Madison to be creators in the middle.
Yeah.
What setup exactly? You know, there's many ways to skin that cat, but I thought in general that was probably the tactical mistake that was made from this get go. And when you've got a young team like this, when the blueprint doesn't work right away, then very unlikely to find the solution under pressure. You know, we don't have, like you mentioned before, we don't have the Rodris and the De Bruynes and stuff like that. And even Madison, our most creative player, he's not been great since he's come back, and he needs time. Of course, I'm not on his back or anything, but I actually think his passing is a bit sloppy and you know, even his decision making is not the best at this moment. You know, so for me also another thing, to be honest, guys, is like with a team like Wolves, we need. That's also a big reason why we need Sonny in the middle. Is that we need actually the shot. You know, once we're through, we need to try and create that situation when we turn over the ball in our half. And once we're through, we can't let them organize that defense. It's imperative that we take a sprint and we go for a longer shot, for that matter, rather than a shorter one, to get the finish in, because otherwise we won't get the opportunity to finish, you know. So, and these are kind of the things I feel like the guys should be drilled on and briefed on before the game. And what I saw is they weren't thinking in that manner even, you know. So I felt like we were just doing the same thing, you know. We were playing Wolves like we would play Burnley, you know, and Burnley would give us a lot of goals, but Wolves is definitely not that. So it worries me a little bit, you know. I think Ange should have known better and set up in a different way today. So yeah.
So, Jorri, do you put the sole blame on today's defeat on Big Ange? It's solely on him today?
Mostly, yeah, because we have this young squad, you know. So we don't have the Kane, and we don't have, for example, these other teams that are high in the league. We don't have players that can kind of figure it out on their own and adapt in that manner, you know. We have a couple of those players, but you know, you really, at least you need to start off the game with some joy, because otherwise they'll just lose confidence and keep running onto the same wall, really, I think. So for me, I can't really. I mean, I can pick out players that were good and bad and all of that, but really, I feel like they should have come into the game being much more prepared for what a Wolves game is. Yeah, and for me, I just saw the same formula, to be honest. And we don't have the physical, we don't have the stamina, you know, upper hand like we had at the start of the season. It felt like we got better fitness out of our preseason than many teams, you know. And we don't have the tactical surprise with the double inverts. Apart from, you know, Emerson and Davis are never going to be the same danger going forward in that regard. But I felt they were pretty good, you know, considering they were coming in and covering, you know. But it's never going to be the same offensive overload that you get from Udoki and Porro.
No.
But Barnaby, you mention it, and I've been whining about this since Mourinho. Is that we need to shoot on the edge of the box. We need a diagonal run where two players, one player basically disrupts the block, and the other player behind has the ball and he shoots at some point there. Yeah. That's where you get the deflections, that's where you get the chaos. And like you exactly said, that's when they need to lunge out and break that structure and then there'll be space. We've not done this under 3 managers for 4 or 5 years. It's unbelievable. I don't understand that. We have great shooters in our team. We have Madison, we have Porro, we have Sonny. Like all of these guys have world class long shots in them, and we don't use them. For me, I mean, I almost feel like this is kind of almost arrogant of the managers, because they want to plan everything to a T, and a long shot is kind of a odds game, and the planning goes a little bit out the window. But that's what you need when you're running into a wall constantly. You need to create that disruption to be able to either get the rebound and score that way, or at least get some space for future attacks. So I like. Also, another thing I have to say, like for me, it's also I've been kind of sitting or waiting to get out with him. But for me, I really feel that it's still an unambitious thing from the club to keep Mason in his role as offensive coach. So I think we've seen enough in terms of our winger play and stuff. Like, we need to gear up to a completely different level, because, like I said, we're not going to get the 3, 4, 5 years of developing these amazing players that City do and stuff like that. We need to, ANGE has maybe 2 years. If he keeps running into this wall, the fan base will be gone, and Levy will lose his nerve and all of that. But I have to say also, even if we don't get any silverware joy with ANGE, what he's doing culturally within the club is very, very important, But
yeah. Jorri, thank you so much for not only calling in and giving so much great insight, but also ending on a positive. Really appreciate that, mate. Yeah. Thank you so much. And please do call in again next time as well.
I was going to say, I think ANGE will win us something, but this is the Premier League. This is the Premier League, guys. We don't get any chances to rest on our laurels or do a one trick formula. We need to have several solutions. But
thanks, Jorri. Really appreciate you calling in, mate. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Jorri. Take it easy.
Bye.
Have a good week.